What is up? How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is Tyler, my boy Derek. We are nearing the college football playoffs, and I am excited to cover the biggest games we got going on. Derek, how you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. It's football season, so I love it. I love it.
Tough losses, but still doing good.
Oh yeah, tough one. Sure.
Yes, sir. With that, let's jump right into it.
All righty. First off, so everybody saw the game. Michigan, Ohio State. Man, who is to blame for the Ohio State loss?
What you
Uh,
think? You're the Ohio State fan. I want to hear what you think.
I am.
Is it is
I
it
am.
is it day? Is it fire day season? Is it CJ Stroud's no longer a first round pick season, or did the defense just choke it twice? What do you think?
Man, I'm gonna say that they did not get them ready for the second half. He did it, and it showed. When you only score 3 points in the second half, that's it, and you are at home. They were not ready. Their first half, they they were scoring and scoring and scoring, but then man, defense knows well. Man, they they gave up some pretty big passes, touchdowns. I mean, they just were not ready because because their biggest game uh prior to was against Penn State, and
Yeah,
they're good,
definitely.
but they're not, you know,
They're
that
number 11
good.
now. They're okay.
Like exactly. So that is definitely a a day thing. Now, um, uh, to fire him, not yet. Let you know. Uh, they say 3 times as a charm. So we're gonna see next season what happens. But as for whose fault it was, Ryan Days.
I think, man, I thought something about third quarter when Michigan started gaining some steam that I really should have considered previously.
Mm.
I wonder if there is something schematical that the Michigan offense and the offensive coordinator seen in the Ohio State defense that they were able to expose twice in a row. Because when you see the exact same people on the Ohio State team getting exposed in the exact same way, yeah, JJ McCarthy, he went crazy, way more than what they had last year at quarterback. Going for 12 of 24, 50% completion percentage, 263 yards and 3 touchdowns, finishing on a 92.6 QBR. That's a good game. That's a damn good game right there, especially for a Michigan QB. But Donovan Edwards going crazy. I wonder if there's something they've seen to say, here's something we can expose that they definitely exposed last year, and they just went right back to it. Because we discussed last week that Ohio State had all but 2 people, the exact same defense coming out, and they got played the same way. Now, I thought it was going to be a personal thing. Being at home, being those people that took that loss last year, they'll die on the field before they let that happen again. But damn, hell froze over for y'all because it happened again. It happened the same way towards the end of the game. And I'm like, they got a better quarterback now, but I really think there's something to it that they were like, yeah, we're going to go right back to it. We know this guy is not going to have this situation. We know this guy's going to be matched up on this, and he's not going to handle it. And we're just going to, bam, right back on it. Now, y'all went into halftime with the elite, and y'all weren't able to hold on to that. But it was that fourth quarter. That fourth quarter was brutal. I mean, to score 3 points in the second half alone, that's bad. But to let up 21 in the fourth, the second half, you let up 28-3.
Right.
That's a damn Falcons score right there. I don't even want to talk about. But I mean, even Cornelius Johnson, 4 receptions for 160 yards. If I'm not mistaken, that's a hell of an average right there per reception. 2 touchdowns, 75-yard reception, and even Donovan Edwards going for 216 on 22 carries. One of those was an 85-yard run, and that wasn't his. He had another long run on top of that. So I'm like, 74 and 85. Oh God. I mean, that's a stat inflator right there. It makes him look like he had a crazy day when he had a Saquon Barkley type day. Right. A lot of zeros and all of a sudden boom and boom. And it's like, dude, to have those kind of shot plays, 3 plays over 74 yards, it makes me look at it like, you know what? I really think, they knew how to expose Ohio State. And because you guys had the same guys, they said, just run it back. I ain't worried about it. And even when they got down early, they're like, nah, we know what we're going to take a shot on. Right. We'll just wait till the end of the game when they can't adjust in halftime. Right. And I almost wonder if, going in 17-20, they did good enough in the second quarter. They were like, okay, at our own pace. But then it came out like, now they can't adjust, and we're going to show them exactly what we know about them. That's my opinion. But CJ Stroud had a plenty good game, going for 347 yards. I'd love to point out that Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka, both had incredible games. 7 for 120 in a touchdown for Harrison, and then another, 9 for 125 for Egbuka, another touchdown, combining for 16 receptions and 245 yards, 2 touchdowns. With that kind of performance, you'd think they blew somebody out.
They beat somebody.
No. And I don't know who's to blame necessarily. I just think it really is the defensive schemes. If you look at, Day is an offensive coach. He's not someone that's going to draw up these beautiful defensive adjustments and these beautiful blitzes that are going to take the game over. He's going to create some good offense, and he really did. And you consider they didn't have Trayvon Henderson. Mayan Williams wasn't really healthy at all. He had very limited snaps, just like Blake Corum. They got this running back, though. Chip Trainum. You know about this guy? He's a linebacker, bro. Now, at Arizona State, he was a running back, and he had some good years, but he transferred this year to play for his hometown, Ohio State, as a linebacker. And he had an okay day as a running back. I found that to be so interesting, even though you lost, 14 for 83 for a linebacker. I'll take that. I'll definitely take that. But I just think it was so much more what Michigan did right than anything you guys did wrong. To have 3 points in the second half, something went wrong for sure. But you guys had your shot. It was just you could not stop their shots. I think the defense as a whole has to feel sorry about this one. And I just think that, Jim Harbaugh is very experienced, man. And he's got an incredible staff that he's taken with him from San Francisco to Michigan, and he's held on to Michigan. He hasn't been good enough for his coordinators to get picked off. He has the same staff for like 6-7 years now. And he's had guys elevate in that positions. So I really think Michigan just played y'all. They knew what your weaknesses were, even things that people like you and me didn't expect. And they just waited for the right moment, and they took their shot. And they hit them over and over and over. It's very similar to me like the Packers and Cowboys game. The Cowboys played a great game. Right. It's just when you let up 4 or 5 shot plays, it's tough to win any game.
All in the back end of the game.
That's the right time, though. That's the right time to take it, because then you can't adjust. It is. If they take those shots and hit those certain plays that they had planned out in the second quarter, you go to halftime, look at some quick tape and say, okay, here's what we should have done. Let's do it now. But when they just keep the game close into halftime, let you guys really think that you got this, and then fourth quarter especially, they take that shot, what adjustments can you make? Right. Especially when you don't have a defensive guy head coach. Like, I thought it was a beautiful plan that way. And when I started looking at the box score and how they played it out and how in the second half they started going for bigger plays, I thought it was a beautifully planned out game by Michigan.
Okay. Man, it's so okay. So let's turn this way. If I became a coach, right? Yes, I would teach them and coach them. Hey, we start fast, we drive fast, and we score first, always, of course. But I would drill in them. We are a second half team. We keep that foot on the Tigers' neck, and that is what they does not coach. They does not teach that. They teaches points, but you have to put in second half, finishing a game, just like Baltimore, and we'll soon on we will go there. They did not finish that game, and that is how you lose. So in the playoff, if that is how you play, you will lose. You have to be coached on how to finish a game. They did not do that. But Michigan, they executed from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. They look like they are the team to beat Georgia. They do.
I think so. I remember what happened last year, but yeah. With this quarterback now?
Yeah, that was bad last year. This year is different, though. Also, Georgia's only test, technically, was Tennessee. And Tennessee, showed us that they are not a true top 5 team. They're not. So now they play LSU next. That's not a test.
Really. Not anymore.
It's not. So Georgia, it could be, hard to tell, but we all know that Michigan is for real. They are top dog.
Does that hurt for you to say that as an Ohio State fan? That
Yeah,
must be gut-wrenching, bro.
Yeah, it did. Now, I will
pay them respect. I appreciate it.
I say that though. For Philly, no, never mind.
I was just about to say that. I love it.
Yeah, bro,
I was going to ask you, hey, when Philly wins, you're going to pay them the same respect?
I love
you can appreciate a rival. No, just college. It's not that. It's not my hometown team. Okay. Fair enough. I love that you were on that because that's exactly what I was about to say.
It's not. Next. Man, what is going on? First of all, with South Carolina, they beat Tennessee and they beat Clemson. Now, keep in mind, Clemson and Tennessee aren't that good, but they are
Tennessee
good.
Now.
Good
Tennessee
might
have the most impressive.
Right. True.
Who they beat this year is damn impressive.
Right.
They just had a starting quarterback. They might still be in this.
But they kind of though fell off.
Yeah.
And they did. So it's like, what is up with Clemson? Where is that team going? What is happening with the defense, the offense, with Dell? What's going on? Why? They can't win.
I think
They did this year.
South Carolina came out. They got wiped out by Florida. What, 3 weeks ago? What?
Yeah, they did.
Personally, bro, I'll cover South Carolina real quick, and we'll talk about Clemson. Spencer Rattler had a hell of a day. 25 of 39. That's okay. That's not bad at all. Over 50%
Good day.
for I think the third straight game. He's gotten his completion percentage really high. 360 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Had another rushing touchdown. That was pretty good. They had one receiver over 3 receptions, and that was Anton Wells Jr. 9 receptions for 131 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 72-yard for the longest. Very impressive. Beyond that, did they do anything that crazy? Their running backs combined for 46 yards in a goal line touchdown. I'm talking about 4 running backs combining for 46 yards on over 20 carries. And that's very unimpressive. Their defense, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. That's not impressive. Okay. And when you talk about Spencer Rattler's 2 interceptions, one was a contested, I see where you're throwing it, but you just probably shouldn't throw in tight coverage there. The other one in the red zone, that was bad. It was a really bad off-balance throw that just went nowhere near your receiver. So Spencer Rattler, good stats, but not a perfect game like we saw the week previous against Tennessee where he put up 60. My God.
63, man.
1 receiver going crazy. Okay, cool. Nobody else got more than 2 catches. Everything else was did they do anything that special?
They
no.
didn't.
Just they played a good, solid game, and credit to them. They've gotten their things together. Clemson. What in the hell is going on with Clemson? I mean, honestly, it was a close 1-point game because the defense didn't do too bad. We're talking about 3 sacks and 11 tackles for loss. That sounds like a damn good defense to me. Will Shipley, let me give him credit real quick.
Oh, he was
195, 132 yards and a touchdown. Had a 45-yard run. Only 15 carries he had over 100 yards. That's over 5 yards a carry for you people doing stats. That's a damn good game. Everything else from the quarterback down was just disgusting. Horrible. I mean, we're talking about 8 for 29. DJ Uiagalelei. Oh, my God, that was bad. 99 yards, and the 99 yards, that's bad enough. I look at the 8 for 29. You couldn't get more than 1 receiver the ball 3 times. When you are a top flight program, still ranked top 10, quite honestly, almost fairly so because of how talented the rest of the team is. Right. But you can't even use that talent because, quite honestly, if DJ is still at Clemson next year, he should be playing tight end. The best thing he did all day was run the ball. 12 for 51 and a touchdown. That's not a bad day from a running back. But you're the damn quarterback. You are supposed to be the following up Trevor Lawrence quarterback. What? I was in disbelief watching that game. Missing wide open throws, throwing in the contested coverage, misreading anything, doing everything wrong on every play, taking bad sacks where you don't even look over to the left. I mean, he's not even going through his reads someplace. He's staring down one receiver, getting hit in the back because you're not even look. Everything was bad other than what he did when the ball was just running. And so I think, quite honestly, he could be Logan Thomas. He's a good athlete. He's big. He seems to do well with the ball in his hands. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not even joking. He should be a tight end. And if he doesn't go to a small conference team next year to play quarterback, Clemson better make him Logan Thomas. Because the one thing he did impressively was run the ball in the end zone from the red zone. He winded through the offensive line, cut back, make a guy miss, power through 3 tacklers. Everything else was terrible. He's a great athlete. He's a strong man, but he is a terrible quarterback. And I'm not even afraid to say that at this point because he did everything bad, everything. And to imagine that your defense plays so well and you lose by 1 point with that bad of a quarterback performance, to me validates what I thought earlier in the year that maybe something can overcome how bad that quarterback play is. But I never expected a 26.3 QBR. Oh my God, switch positions or go to a different conference because that is ridiculous. You're not even going to get picked up on a practice squad playing like this. He has to switch
No
positions.
team will want you.
Dude,
Like that,
Carson Strong was better than that last year, and he didn't even get drafted. Do you think anybody's going to even take a shot on DJ playing like that?
Who?
Hell no, nobody. And
the
so
CFL might. They might. CFL, they might.
You're not wrong about that.
Strong might.
Yeah, XFL is coming back this spring. You want to be an XFL quarterback? You can go Tim Tebow on us and say, I'm a quarterback, nothing else. But damn it, he is not a quarterback. He is a good athlete who needs to find something else to do. I'm almost mad about it because 3 sacks and 11 tackles for loss, let alone 2 interceptions, good defensive back end coverage. Clemson played a great game. DJ just played garbage football, and they lost the game because of it. I can't even be shy about it. It was straight up on DJ, and usually it's like this is a team game. It's not all about one person. That was bad. No, there's nothing to look at other than running the ball. That wasn't just terrible. And so it's their program dying. They don't have a good quarterback. When they've been good in the last 8 years, they had elite all-time quarterbacks at a college level. Now they don't just have a quarterback. They got a terrible quarterback. And Cade should get the next play. And
Cade
moved it.
So Cade
he wasn't that good even.
He'll start Saturday.
You know what says the most to me though? This is not the first game that DJ's played like this, and they haven't even given Cade a shot. So what does that tell you they're seeing on the back end in practice? What does that tell you about their confidence in Cade?
Best quarterback they got.
Yeah, and that's not good. Like, oh my God. So they should have been on Bo Nix in the transfer portal. And quite honestly, some of the rumors you hear out of Clemson is that they got a little bit of a paying for people problem. They don't invest like that. And you heard Nick Saban last year talking about we need to get in the portal. We need to put money into the portal.
Oh, of course.
I think Clemson's on that horse now of like, hey, boosters, you see what's going on here. There were people that were out there to get. Even Spencer Rattler on Clemson would look a hell of a lot better than Nix.
Bo Nix was
bad
out there too.
That's the one that stands out to me is like, man, how many teams are looking at Bo Nix like we should have gave him a shot?
Exactly.
Most of them. Yeah.
Now they lost Saturday, but I mean,
bad loss there too. But Bo Nix is on one leg, and Oregon State's not a terrible team. So, I mean, a ranked opponent nonetheless. Now they're ranked above Oregon, so you get it. But bad for Clemson.
It is. Now it's time for some NFL action. Tyler, do it, man. Go ahead.
Who do you think Lamar Jackson is, man? Going against the Jaguars, having the lead, clutch time performance from Lamar Jackson, you think, until the Jaguars turn it up a notch, until Trevor Lawrence has his creme de la creme of his NFL career so far, saying, I am officially that dude. And Lamar's left being like, isn't he supposed to be that dude? Now, I think he still is. I think he still deserves a hell of a contract, and they really still should have looked at – the Ravens should be looking at this like we should have paid him 2 years ago. They should have paid him after the MVP season, and they got him on a discount.
I paid him then.
My God. What the Jaguars put together, I mean, look at what they were going through with last year with Urban Meyer, and now they got a real coach in there in Trent Peterson. The difference is clear. I mean, the Ravens, my biggest problem is that they weren't able to score touchdowns early. They caught fire too late. You know, it's one thing to play like Michigan and be like, yeah, we got some things. Let's be patient, which is so impressive that they were able to be that patient. But with the Ravens, it's like 6 points in the first, okay, to 3 points in the second, 3 points in the third. That ain't beating too many teams. And especially when you just invested a first-round pick in the trade deadline to acquire a Pro Bowler. Mm-hmm. That's bad. And now you do score 15 in the fourth, but then you allow 18, and it's like, man,
you are losing those games.
They win at halftime 9-10 when they were favored by at least 4 points, I believe. Like, goodness. Mm-hmm. I have more credit to the Jaguars in this than hate on the Ravens. But as far as who is Lamar Jackson, a great player who seems to have to play one style most of the time. You know, when you say they have to play one style, it's like, okay, all the time he can only win one way.
Right.
He's shown us he can sling it through the air. He's shown us that
he
can
for
have
sure.
games he goes crazy. But his style of play doesn't invite amazing wide receivers. And when you lose a guy like Hollywood, they are so one-dimensional. I think that's the bigger problem. It's not a Lamar Jackson problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything around him was so clever the first year and slowly is losing steam because people are not only doing similar things, but they're catching on to it. Like the NFL is a copycat league. And we talk about this with Philly where it's like, you know, Commanders show how to beat Philly. You be physical up front. So people that have the personnel to say, oh, we'll play them that way, play them that way. Even the Colts, you know. But it's like 4 or 5 years into this Lamar Jackson playing one style experience. I love when they have Tyler Huntley and Lamar on the field. I think that's something that I don't want most teams to do. But if you can do it with those guys, you do it because they both run 4.4s at least. Mm-hmm. I think they need to expand around Lamar. Stop sticking to what one thing works and start working in some spread that he's comfortable with. Yeah.
Right.
You know, because the one big play they had was Deshaun Jackson. And it's like, okay, that's kind of what you had in Hollywood, but you lost that now. Crazy to me, honestly.
It is.
I can't believe giving up those plays, but what the Jaguars were able to do at the end of that game, beyond impressive.
Now, some say that catch don't count.
I thought it was a catch. I was okay with that one.
Yeah, me too. So do I.
I had a bigger problem with Hunter Henry last week.
Yeah. All right. To me, who is Lamar Jackson? Man, if you go back to his first 2 years, that is who he is.
Yeah.
Now is not him. Now, it could be due to it is due to pay wise, of course. It pay him
somewhat.
Pay him.
Yeah, just
pay him.
Over with.
Look, he ain't playing how he plays, and it's probably because he has not been paid. If Baltimore fools around and tags him, he will play horribly next year, or he won't play at all. And that's just the real thing. He's good, but as you see teams like the Chiefs, Philly, they play to their quarterback's strength. If you are playing one way all the time, teams will pick up on that quickly. This is not college. Everybody smart, everybody fast. But they are playing one way. You need to pay him now. If not, I can guarantee you 99% he will sit because you have not paid him.
I gotta disagree with some of what you said. I don't think it's a playing bad issue at all. Because I mean, when you're talking about someone who not only is a very effective passer with a 95.5 QBR, 50% completion percentage, over 30 passes attempted, and 250 yards for a touchdown, that's a damn good game. And a lot of quarterbacks would take that every single game. Aaron Rodgers hasn't had one of those games this year. Lamar Jackson was also their leading rusher. Talking about 14 attempts for 89 yards, that's 6.4 an attempt. You know, that's not even breaking long runs. It's 12 at the longest. He's their most effective passer. He's their most effective runner. And if he could throw to himself, he'd be their most effective receiver. I think the biggest problem is their top 2 receiving targets as far as receptions were both tight ends. and they even have a fullback who's actually a defensive tackle getting 2. So when you rule out the defensive tackle playing fullback, who I love, Patrick Ricard, but it's just something that only their team could make happen. Take out the tight ends. They completed 4 receptions to wide receivers. That's not going to win in the NFL. This isn't Michigan. This is not Big Blue stomping on Ohio State. Had to throw that in there. This is an absolute scheme that is a little stale at this point. And, I think that when you have Greg Roman, who people have had mild questions about, saying, hey, he did this for Kaepernick. He did this now for Lamar Jackson. Credit to Greg Roman for his creativity. What else? What more can you bring to this team? That's been my question about Greg Roman. And quite frankly, it is a glaring need now to find more they can do. They need to hit the draft, find them up. I mean, they just gave away their first-round pick, so it's like Quentin Johnson ain't coming through this door. You might get someone sneaky, not Jalen Hyatt, that's other receiver, Cedric Tillman. Maybe you get him in the second round. That'd be amazing. Because I think at this point they need a number 1 receiver. Even a sneaky number 1 who's really number 2, a Cortland Sutton, a Jerry Jeudy, they need that at this point. Because what they're missing is an outside threat. Lamar Jackson has proven, even with a 62-yard pass to Deshaun Jackson, that when you give him that option, he will make money out of it. Mm-hmm. But it's like the people who are available, they don't go get them.
They don't.
The people who are available don't want to come to them.
Right.
Quite honestly, maybe they should have made the trade for Calvin Ridley. Because next year you'd be looking at that like that's what you need.
Right.
Yeah, maybe he's really a number 2. Is he going to be an all-time number 1 this year? No. But he's going to spread the field for you. It's so condensed and limited what they can do. Outside of Mark Andrews, who's coming back from an injury, Josh Oliver, great game. Isaiah Likely a couple weeks ago, great game. We're talking about tight ends. Yes, athletic ones. Yes, good receiving ones. Yes, versatile ones. We're talking about tight ends. So the corners and safeties don't have to respect too much. They know what they're looking for, and it's limited the options they have to respect. That's the problem. Lamar Jackson is having an amazing season with limited help. J.K. Dobbins is not playing. Devin Duvernay is doing an amazing job being effective in all categories. Justice Hill and Kenyon Drake, that's not going to win you games. I like them. I'll use them in Madden. It's about as far as they go.
That's it.
And so it's like even the defense isn't playing bad. Roquan Smith isn't having 10 tackles a game now, but it's because there's other talented guys in the field. I mean, talking about Marlon Humphrey getting a sack from the cornerback positions and 3 tackles solo. You're talking about Calais Campbell, 38 damn years old, getting a sack. You're talking about plenty
APP
of
as well.
You see 2 forced fumbles. You see tackles for loss. You see Justin Tucker being Justin Tucker. And quite frankly, if he could have put another yard on what would have been the new longest kick of all time, a 67-yarder, it would have been good from 65 or 66. We found his range. I can't believe it. Yeah. We found how far Justin Tucker can kick a field goal from. It's 66 yards. That's 67, just short. And if he would have hit that, we'd be talking about it in such a different light right now.
Oh, of course.
As far as the contract, I have thought this whole time that Lamar's like, hey, I want to MVP my first year. He didn't want to give me nothing. Why would I push the issue now? If you want to take this Kirk Cousins route, let me get 3 franchise tags and either hit the open market, go to Miami, which may not be an option now. But
2 is there.
Yeah, now somebody believes in Tua. We can see what he is. Yeah. But if they want to give him the 3 franchise tags, let him make over $180 million in the next 3 years, he's going to get a max deal. It's whether you want to take the Cowboys route and wait as long as you can to get a bad contract, or just get it over with. Right. Get it over with was 2 years ago. We are now in the 5th-year option,
and now
it's coming down to this year being a problem.
Right.
If they don't pay him, whether they want to pay Roquan Smith first or whatever they think they need to do business-wise, he needs to have a contract next year, or I'm going to
His should be first. His should be first.
Business-wise, I would understand Roquan being the first, even though it might be as long as it doesn't come off as a personal disrespect to Lamar. If I'm the Ravens GM, if I'm Eric DeCosta, I'm going to Lamar and his mother, his agent, and say, listen, I'm going to sign you to a massive contract right now, tomorrow. But today, I am signing the next biggest person first, so I know what I can realistically pay you. If you sign Lamar first, you're tying up a massive chunk of your cap. When you're already going to look for Roquan Smith, who is on his final year of his contract, you just gave a first-round pick. No way you can let him go. So you got to find out first, is Roquan having a franchise tag or a deal? Once you have that answer, now you look at the books, see what you got, and say, here's how we're going to structure your contract, Lamar Jackson. I think that's absolutely the road they need to go. I think guys like Patrick Queen are on their way out for that reason, because you're not going to pay another first-round pick along with these two. But there are two contracts they must get done now. And quite frankly, that was my only question about the Roquan Smith deal. It makes a lot of sense to me, and I love it. But, man, tying your hands behind your back, seriously. But I just, that's how I'd go about it. Lamar is not the problem. No matter what he's being paid or how he's being paid, his confidence is beyond the ceiling, beyond the sky. He is going to come out here and be who he is, because he is all they got right now.
Right. Understandable. All right. The Packers.
I hope not.
Philly. Is this Aaron Rodgers' last season? No, but it should be. It should be. One, you got Jordan Love on his third year. What are you going to pay him? Also, if you choose to let Jordan go, then you only have Rodgers. He's old. He's breaking. You have no other choice. So this is what Aaron should do. Go ahead, do this season out, get paid. Then go ahead and go ahead and leave. There is no reason for you to stay here. It's not. It makes no sense to keep getting hurt. The difference with Brady and Rodgers, Brady don't get hurt, but Rodgers does. It makes sense for Aaron Rodgers to just leave. Philly's defense is their weak link. And once Philly plays a really good offense that has a good defense, you lost.
You hate him. You hate him.
No, yes, true, I do. But hey, it is true. Philly let the Packers score 33 on them prior to Sunday. They almost got beat by the Colts. What is that telling you? They have been figured out. Philly is not the number one team anymore.
We're not even talking about Philly.
Hey, it is Chiefs, our top dogs. Chiefs are. Not Philly.
This is the second time today. We don't even have the Eagles on the slate today. And it's the second time you're finding an opportunity to take a shot at them. I can't stand it with you.
I don't like it.
Oh, my God. I can't stand you. Listen, we're talking about the Packers, damn it. Listen. Aaron Rodgers, man, it's a tough thing to see how he's struggling this year. I think he's getting better, but without Devontae Adams, there's something missing. And I hate to see it because, like, Devontae Adams is doing amazing things with Derek Carr, and the rest of the team is not good around him. And it's like, imagine where they'd be if he stayed. they'd be doing just fine. I think Christian Watson is finally finding himself, and you're seeing them put up points because of it. Because, damn, is Christian Watson a dude, man? I'm talking while we're on the Eagles. I do think that really CJ Gardner-Johnson being gone now, potentially for the season, is the only and biggest question I've had about the Eagles all year. You're right. Everyone figured out how you can beat the Eagles. Not figured them out. Stop it. Don't shake your head like I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, they got them.
The NFL's a copycat league. I said it a moment ago. Once you see how you can beat a team, you can start to piece together.
Next.
Well, the thing is this, and I think the Titans will actually be a good example of this. They have an amazing, incredible front five, not even seven. They don't play that scheme. Their front five is dynamite. Whether it be the ends and the 3 tackles, it's dynamite. You have 900 pounds a man and 2 elite ends. It's a lot for any team to handle. I think they actually do play well into that strength. I'm sure we'll cover that here in a week or later in the week. But I think that they can look at what the Commanders did, and this is what every team does. They look at what the Commanders did to win.
They do.
They watch that tape and say, what of that can we do? And what is it that's similar that we already do well? And that's where we build our game plan around. That's why you're seeing teams like the Packers, who have Jaron Reed and Kenny Clark, both amazing, saying, what? And Dean Lowry, to his credit, he's also amazing. They say, okay, so that worked. What can we expand on from that? So you see that some things are not as easy. But to say they've been figured out when they just ran the ball for 363 yards, and it was like the easiest 363 yards I've ever seen.
Against the Packers, who
have a good, terrible statistical defense that has amazing talent.
They're a bad defense, yes.
They're bad defense. They're a bad defense.
They're
bad. Not bottom 10, so you can't say they're bad. But
they are the bottom 15, at least.
Okay, it's bottom half.
That's Dallas average. Is first, but yeah.
They're an average defense. That's better. I'll agree to this.
No.
Well, that's what you just said. You said they're bottom 15. So here's the thing. Jalen Hurts ran for 17 and 157 on them. Just rushing. 17 carries, 157 yards. For a quarterback, that's elite company right there. Miles Sanders had 143 yards on 21 carries. That's 6.8 yards per carry. His longest on the day was only 28. That is a gashing for sure. That is an absolute gashing. But as much as I'm trying to defend mildly the Packers defense, the Eagles are not being figured out if they're doing that. Just got to put that down. Back to Aaron Rodgers.
A bad defense. So that's not even wow.
It's
like okay, yeah.
This is the trend with you. You know what? Yeah, the Eagles did something amazing that no one else has done this year. Dismiss it with this. Here's why that don't matter. Nonsense.
Because you did it on a bad team. So it don't matter because you did it Packers, on a bad defense.
So yes. Are you telling me that the Eagles still have 0 good wins in the season? Just yes or no?
Let me see.
Oh, you're thinking about it. I'm impressed. So listen, back to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, none. Because they play Titans next week. If they win, yes, cool. Good win. Awesome. And then 2 weeks from that, Dallas. If they win, good win. Those are the only wins.
I can't even take you seriously.
They played bad teams and lost to the Commanders. The Commanders. Out of anybody.
Who are a playoff team right now. Okay, moving on.
Barely.
Aaron Rodgers.
They barely got in.
They're in. Aaron Rodgers.
True, yes. But listen.
Moving on. Aaron Rodgers.
Quality win.
I'm answering the question on the screen, Skip. Now listen here. Here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers is not leaving after this season. It just, there's no way. You know why? He has 150 million reasons not to going forward. Mm-hmm. This man is getting paid over $200 million from now in the next 5 years. And that's actually very light. It could be upwards of 250 to 300 million. Because you're not just talking about the contract extension of 2 years, 3 years, 150 million that he signed last year. He's still got 2 years left on his old deal that was paying him upwards of 38 million. So He's got over 300 million reasons to be like, no, I'm okay where I'm at. We'll take some rib injuries, and I think I'll do just fine in the future, getting a rib replacement if I need it. Here's what we need to focus on. Jordan Love is entering his third year. I think the fact that Aaron is currently hurt actually kind of helps the Packers make their decisions. Because Jordan Love has looked as impressive last night as anything we've ever seen from him college and beyond. We've never seen a moment of Jordan Love in the NFL where he is comfortable, fluid, and on point. We saw that last night. Or the other night. We saw him not just really look good. I will give a little bit of disclaimer. I don't know that he attempted a pass over 20 yards. It was a very Cooper Rush type game plan for how we're going to operate with Jordan Love in the game. But from that, the timing, the touch, the ability to look comfortable in the pocket was beautiful. It was absolutely everything I'd like to see from him. If he can add a couple deep shots to show me he's got that, I'm all in on Jordan Love from that. It really reminds me so much of, I believe, I want to say it was 2009, maybe 2008, somewhere in that, where Tony Romo was playing at home against his idol Brett Favre. Brett Favre gets hurt early in the game, and we see for the first time this first-round pick who's been sitting around, Aaron Rodgers, play for the first time. And you see him kind of, oh, this guy's not bad. This looks pretty good, Everyone thought Aaron Rodgers was a bust, falling from the first overall pick projected to 20s. And then he hasn't played for 3 years. And everyone's like, write him off. Sound familiar? Just like Jordan Love. But then he steps in the game and against the Cowboys, and people are like, okay, this ain't too bad. This is interesting right here. And then from there, Brett Favre kind of dilly-dallies his way out. Aaron Rodgers is in a different contract situation with his 3-year extension than that. Aside from that, the situation is the same. I see this going in the direction of him actually being the starter again next year. Then they have a tough decision of Jordan Love. If he continues to look this good, this offseason will have his 5th-year option picked up for the upcoming season. So we're talking about 2024 now. In 2024, Aaron Rodgers is going to make a good amount of money. All right, he's going to be deep into this extension, deep into this whole situation as far as how much he's making. He's slated for this year to make $28 million, roughly, not including bonuses, just roster salary. Next year, 31, just salary. That's under restructure. Then we're talking 40. So if you're talking have a 5th-year option for Jordan Love, around 20 million at the very least, maybe a little more. How the card market goes going forward. Lamar could really tip that thing forward.
Oh, he could.
Then we're talking the year after, 59 million, then 53 million in his last year. So the 4th and 5th year of these upcoming 5 years is where it's like, yeah, Roger ain't going nowhere. He's not retiring. And if he does, he's an interesting dude. Here's where there's another problem. With his restructuring, if they tried to move on at the trade deadline, which there's no reason to, there's obviously a reason they did not, they would have had $151 million dead cap for next year. That is a record-breaking number as far as that. I've never seen anything like that, to be honest with you. I look at Spot Track for everything. I have never seen that. Next year, if they try to trade him this offseason, they will have a $99 million dead cap. That is almost 40% of the upcoming cap. That is astronomical. I've never seen anything like it, like I said. That next year, when they will have Jordan Love on a 5th-year option, upwards of $20 million. If they move on from Aaron Rodgers right then and there, they have $24 million dead cap. So they're spending $44 million at the quarterback position instead of 60 plus. I see him finishing the year. Whether he starts or not is more based on injury than desire. If it's a desire thing, he will be starting. If there's injuries, he will not. Next year, it's really not realistic that he moves on.
Right.
2024, upwards of 500 days from now, we're going to be back in the where does Aaron Rodgers go conversation. And if Jordan Love does not impress and they don't have him at that point, the following year is a $16 million and followed by an $8 million dead cap. Those last 3 years, so 2 years, 4 years, 5 years from now, I don't think he's going to finish his career as a Packer. But as far as just salary alone, at the same time that he's going to have, 40, 59, and $53 million in salary, his dead cap's going to be under 25, which is nowadays a mid-tier quarterback contract.
Right.
Is it going to be silly for them to be paying $25 million when starting Jordan Love? Yes, absolutely.
Incredibly
But
great.
it's not 151 and it's not 99. It's actually possible. So is it his last season? No way.
No, don't know about that.
Love
Tyler,
No.
are you all in for Jimmy G?
No.
No, I'm not.
No.
That game was strictly defense. That was strictly defense. Jimmy G only went to the Super Bowl because of the defense. The 49ers are only talked about because of the defense, not the offense. Yes, Debo is good. Yes, Christian is good. But anything that they have is because of the defense. I am not all in on Jimmy G. Can't be. Now, I think that he would be better probably somewhere else next year, maybe. But this is a strictly defensive team, and it shows. When you only put up 13 points and the defense held the Saints to 0, and you do only 13. They should let Jimmy go.
I mean, they tried to.
Easier.
If Trey Lance didn't have an injury problem, which is so hilarious because they got Trey Lance because Jimmy G had an injury problem. Kind of nonsense is that? This is a defense that is terrifying to me. And we're going to get to the offense in a moment. You don't even have Eric Armstead, a all-pro defensive tackle. You don't even have Javon Kinlaw, who went viral at the beginning of the season because he is 320 pounds shredded. Built like most people will never see anybody built. When you get those two back and shore up the middle of your defense, what do you do? They don't even have Jason Verrett, who is chronically tearing up his knee every year and better retire because I'm sad for him. They don't have 3 of their best defenders. They're just too damn talented. 3 elite safeties. I mean, to have Talanoa Hufanga, who's become a star, to have Jimmy Ward, that's a damn good unit. Then you throw into Sean Gibson, who is a vet who just never will go away. He is 35. I expect to see him 10 years from now. He is not even fast anymore. He just plays flawless zone coverage, has since day one with the Jaguars. 3 great safeties. Okay. Corners actually don't even need to be that much. You can have guys like Demondre Lenore, who nobody knows him. I barely even know who he is. And I know everybody. The thing is about the San Francisco scheme is that they don't ask you to do too much. It's a lot of really clever cover 2s. And all that is drop back 5 yards and know your responsibility. That's about it. They don't ask too much. That's why Richard Sherman was able to play there till he was 35. So when you have someone like Fred Warner, you got someone like Dre Greenlaw, Ariz Al-Shahir, who I don't even like saying his name because it confuses me to look at. 3 great linebackers. You got an incredible pass rush. You know what? Let's just act like Nick Bosa wasn't making plays every damn game. Drake Jackson was a hell of a late-round pick. Samson Ibukam came from the Rams doing okay. Now, that boy ain't bad.
Now he's shredding.
Shredding. And they even got Chardavius Ward, who was the best guy on the Chiefs the last 2 years, other than Javius Sneed. And then he is just a flawless fit for the limited things they ask their corners to do. This defense has no holes. They have depth at every position. They have an easy scheme that just allows people to be playmakers. And then you got a guy like D'Amico Ryans coaching them, who is hopefully going to be a head coach, I hope, in Arizona, quite frankly, after this year. Should be this year. And honestly, I have to question if they don't win the Super Bowl, does he look at it like, I'm going to get another job. I'll stick around one more year, which would be crazy, but I understand because this is a perfect unit with a perfect scheme. But the craziest thing is, it's not all defense. When you got Brandon Ayuk, you got Juwan Jennings.
Who Jimmy G don't use. He don't use. So it's
Ayuk?
Jimmy G don't use who he has. He don't use them until they play a good team.
I have to give Jimmy credit. I'm a big Jimmy G hater. I actually hate him almost as much. I don't hate anything as much as you hate the Eagles, but close. I really don't like a lot of what Jimmy G does. Elijah Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey going crazy in the running game. Let's skip it. Brandon Ayuk, 5 receptions, 65 yards. Juwan Jennings, 6 for 49 and a touchdown. Now that touchdown, Jimmy Garoppolo is damn lucky that that defender couldn't jump another inch and bat the ball away. He just batted it right into the receiver's hands, who made an incredible toe-tapping reception in the back of the end zone. Debo had 3 for 43 and had a rushing attempt. You're talking about Ray McCloud made a play. Christian McCaffrey had 4 receptions, and even George Kittle had 3 receptions. This is called spreading the ball and using all of those weapons. That, quite frankly, is pretty decent. I'm okay with Jimmy G just off that. Now, is this the absolute most maximizing thing we could ever see? No.
No, it's not.
But no interceptions, a 70% completion percentage, that's pretty elite. A 99% or a 99.3 QBR, that's pretty elite. Is Jimmy G an elite quarterback? No. He is just the one meh player on a perfectly built roster.
Right.
Aside from that, man, it's just the rest of the team is so perfect. Jimmy Garoppolo is a decent game manager who I expect to be on the Houston Texans next year. They tried to get rid of him because they look at someone like, if we could have a mobile quarterback here, imagine the possibilities. I mean, if the Ravens don't want to pay Lamar Jackson, I think the 49ers should bite the bullet. They should trade 3 more first-round picks. They should trade 4 more second-round picks and Trey Lance, making it 4 first-round picks. Just give them 4 and 4. Just say, I know we've traded them, but F them picks. It worked for the Rams and it worked for us too. Get Lamar in here and watch what happens. Oh, wow. I would love to see it. It's not going to happen, but for real, I will never be all in on Jimmy G, but I actually respect him now more than ever because I expect this team to be in the Super Bowl, and they better not lose like the Vikings did after I say that.
Oh, they will.
No, they will not. Not this team.
They will. They will. Look, man. So here is my strong take. The 49ers can be an undefeated team once they get a much better quarterback. They got the defense. They got the players on offense. They just got the wrong quarterback. They can be undefeated. Better than the Philly, too, as well. They can. They just need a better quarterback. Once they get a much better quarterback, no team can stop them.
I want to ask you this. Let me run
through
the
pieces.
The way Jimmy G is at least controlling and managing a game under a perfect scheme, perfect offense, perfect defense situation. The way he's at least managing the game. Would you rather have him or Davis Mills?
Quarterback? Oh, Jimmy. Of course. That's
okay. I'm going to keep going. Yeah. Would you rather have him or Andy Dalton? Or even Jameis Winston? I'll maybe take you on Winston. Dalton, come on.
Jimmy G.
Just barely. Very similar people, but just a little bit better.
Right.
Would you rather have him than Matt Ryan? I'm a Falcons fan asking this.
Yes, I would.
I might, because Matt Ryan has no velocity on his ball nowadays.
No, he don't.
He's not built like that no more. He's just very smart guy. But Jimmy's pretty smart too. Would you rather have Jimmy G or Zach Wilson?
Oh, Jimmy G, that's easy. Come on now.
Would you rather have him or Mike White? And I like Mike White a lot.
So do I. Can't lie.
I like Mike White a lot. He got me sold on the wink alone.
He just beat the Bears. So that's good,
That's okay.
but it's not a hype thing.
Other than the one game that Mike White lost feeling in his hand until
Right.
immediately after the game, Mike White has averaged over 250 yards every single game. So if you take Mike White, I ain't mad at you. Probably Jimmy G, though, right?
Right. Of course.
Last one. Would you rather have Jimmy G or Jared Goff?
Give me a Jimmy G.
Okay. I'll even push it a little further.
All right, go ahead.
Tannehill and Kirk Cousins. That's where I start to lean back towards the other two. But would you rather take Jimmy G over one of those two?
So who?
Tannehill and Kirk Cousins. No, Derek Carr I like. Tannehill or Kirk Cousins?
Tannehill.
You want Tannehill over Jimmy G?
Yes, Tannehill.
He's 35. I don't know if you'll say that next year. Kirk Cousins, you'll probably take over Jimmy G, right?
No.
You a hater.
No, for real. Kirk can't get rushed. So, yeah, no.
You saying Jimmy G can?
Jimmy G. Oh, yeah.
All right. But so that's where we find our line of mediation. But apparently Jimmy G is around the 15th best starting quarterback in the league. But we're talking about him as if he's the 30th.
Right.
That's the realistic aspect of it. There's at least 6 quarterbacks will take over him.
Oh, of course.
Kirk Cousins, I might not. Tannehill, I probably would take Jimmy G, actually, because Tannehill is very old at this point. He's very effective still. He's 35. It's one of these next 2 years is going to fall off. That's why they got Malik Willis. But that's the realistic aspect. One last one. Would you rather have Jimmy G or Taysom Hill?
Jimmy G.
He ain't that bad.
Taysom, proves.
I'm not in on it, but he ain't that bad. All right. That's where it's an interesting conversation there.
All right. Lastly, college football playoffs. The rankings just came out tonight. So let's work backwards. Number 7, Tennessee. To me, they got ranked kind of high. Can't lie. They just lost two games. One game you lost to South Carolina. Ain't ranked that up. Too high. Tyler.
I think honestly, they just blew out Vanderbilt 56-0 like they were supposed to. A lot of people, were down on Alabama for only beating Austin Peay by 30-some. It should be in the 50s, 60s, and Volunteers did that with a back quarterback. What I really have questions with, I think where they're ranked is okay for me, actually, because I believe they have one of the more impressive schedule as far as who they've beaten in the entire college football. You're talking about a team that not only beat Alabama, not only beat LSU early, you're talking about a team that, they lost to Georgia, but Georgia only put up 27 on them. Prospectively looking, that's not bad. Then that damn South Carolina game. That's where you lose me. That damn South Carolina game where Hendon Hooker went out.
Come on now.
And about 44 of them came with Hendon Hooker on the field. That damn South Carolina game. Aside from that, they have a very impressive schedule. Not necessarily an out-of-conference impressive schedule. It's all SEC, but they beat Florida, 500 team. They beat Pittsburgh. Well, maybe that's their impressive out-of-conference lower-level team there. But they're not ranked. But they're not ranked. You're talking about their ranked opponents, talking about LSU, talking about Alabama, and they were actually closer than you'd probably feel like watching the game against Georgia. That's a more impressive schedule than I think Alabama has, personally. Yeah. And so where the question is for me, if Hendon Hooker was still healthy, would they be ranked higher than a team they beat in Alabama? What do you think? That's where I'm I do think so. I do think that it's because they don't have their starting quarterback that
of course, that's why.
They're at 7,
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be something we talk about later on. Mm-hmm. But I'm okay with number 7 for them, quite frankly. I think they're better than Clemson, which Clemson is a little high at number 8 now.
Of course they're better than Clemson, yeah.
Talking about the 2 Oregon teams at 11 and 12, they're better than that. Talking about Penn State around, I believe, 10 or 9, better than that. So I think 7 is fine for them. I just really look at them and I say it's interesting that a team they beat is now behind them, but it has to be because they're missing their starting quarterback.
Okay. All right. 6. Bama.
Yeah.
Bama should be 6. There are talks that they may slide in though, at 4th. Now they they did good. Their their uh their their losses were to Tennessee, and then they were to to LSU. Two good teams, 2 solid teams. I think that's fair for Alabama 6th. Tyler, go ahead.
I definitely agree. I think they're very lucky to still be lurking in this college picture for the playoffs. But I do think as well that, this is a team that has had some fairly impressive wins. You lost to Tennessee. I mean, they were number 1 afterwards, but looking at how it played out, almost not acceptable. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they have lost all of their games combined by 4 points.
Mhm.
So, no, actually, yes, 4 points. They lost to 3 points to Tennessee on a game-winning field goal where they ripped the damn uprights out of the ground and threw them in the river because it was such an impressive game for them. Almost lost to Texas, which, I mean, I don't know how you can get downgraded for almost losing. You pulled out the win, but it is a ranked opponent nonetheless. I don't think it should be that negative. Losing to LSU now looks worse than it did in the moment.
Oh, it does.
But especially understanding how it happened, how, quite frankly, blocking the back on the last play, still stuck on that that long run to set them up shouldn't have been. Jaden Daniels should have had that run called back, as great as he was, because Taylor blocking the back very, very, very clearly ignored. So something that I can take with a little salt, and then you look at a 10-win team and you say they've gotten high at the right time. Austin Peay should beat them by 70. You only beat them by 34, but you beat the Auburn Tigers fairly handily. You beat Ole Miss by a touchdown. You beat Mississippi State, who's now a ranked opponent. I'll take it. I'm okay with number 6. I think if Hendon Hooker was healthy, that Tennessee would be ranked ahead of them. But that's okay for me. They're on the edge, and they need a miracle to get in. They're waiting for 2 of the top 5 people to lose to get in, and I don't see that happening. At best, they're going to finish 5th, and they better not lose again.
All right. 5th, Ohio State. Despite the bad loss though on Saturday, they are placed fairly, yes, because of their loss was to Michigan. Good game, and they got beat by a very, very good team. So I will say that they were placed right at 5th.
Do you wonder if they should have been 4th?
No.
You think falling outside is correct?
5th is fair. 1,
I think
you lost at home.
convincingly.
Exactly. 2, you did lose by 2 points. So yes, of course.
I'm happy to see USC, which we'll get to next, in that position, because I think they've really earned it and have been deserving of this respect for a while. Mm-hmm. Should have been ranked ahead of LSU clearly now, but I will give them credit that they have a fairly impressive schedule opening up against Notre Dame, which I don't think if they would have caught Notre Dame mid-season or now that it would have been that convincing. Mm-hmm. But beating them by 11 opening night, pretty good. You come out Arkansas State is a nobody, but Toledo and Wisconsin, that's a good win.
Mhm.
I think the most convincing thing on their schedule, which actually kind of hurts them, that this is the biggest thing, Michigan is what they needed, is
Right.
that their top win is an out of conference win against Penn State, which is number 8. So I think that is what keeps them there. Doesn't give them a 9 ranking slide like LSU or like Oregon rather, but 5 is okay for me.
5, okay.
They really are just, they are buying, people in
Right.
Ohio are going to buy so many Utah jerseys now.
Oh, of course.
Hoping
Yeah,
that
of course.
they
Easy.
beat USC.
Man, 4th, USC. I got to be honest, and you will hate this,
I know.
but I don't think that they should be 4th. I don't. One, they are just good this year. I mean, give them time to prove first. That's it. Because if they lose on Saturday, everybody will say they should have not been there. It was too soon, too early. I don't think that they should have gotten 4th. So too high for me.
I think here's where you got to look at it. For me, who you lost to doesn't matter. It's how many losses you have.
Mhm.
But who you beat does matter to me.
All right.
And so when we start from the bottom, you open up against Rice and Stanford. That's a crapshoot. Nobody
Right.
cares about that. You know, even
Right.
Brian Shaw is leading Stanford now.
Mhm.
Fresno State is unranked, but a plus 500 record, plus 600 record, actually. Then you go up against Oregon State at number 15. They beat
Pretty
them
good.
early on. You
Pretty
move
good.
on to Arizona State, crap. Washington State, crap.
Yeah.
Utah, they did lose by 1 point to Utah, who is number
It's
11.
gonna be good Saturday.
Understand the situation. The players that they lost in the last 3 years, what they did to commemorate them on the helmets, the energy in that building at home in Utah, a 40-point game from both of them. It is so hard to find a bigger and better energy than that. To have the emotional night, the fired up, full, packed out crowd at home, a top 12, number 11 in the college football playoffs ranked team. It's just so emotionally driven. I don't think there's really any way to me that they fall to them again. Every other win that they've had up until UCLA and then Notre Dame, who UCLA has fallen to 17 and Notre Dame has fallen to 21. So you have 3 ranked opponents you win against. And the one you lost to was under a magical circumstance where they're actually your highest ranked opponent. So to me, I really have been on this for a few weeks. I've been vocal about it on this podcast. I do think they are where they're supposed to be. And this week, we got them going against Utah again. If I'm not mistaken, this is now neutral site, Las Vegas, Allegiant Stadium. Talking about the spaceship in Las Vegas that the Oakland Raiders, I want them to be Oakland still. Las Vegas Raiders play still. This is going to be a show for Caleb Williams.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Biggest crowd he's ever played against, the biggest moment he's ever played in. And he is on a hot streak right now, beating 2 ranked opponents in the last 2 weeks and crushing my Colorado Buffaloes, who are not worth talking about, in the week before. So they've put up 40 plus in 5 straight games previous to the Notre Dame game, where we talked about how that was such a good matchup for Notre Dame, and they lost by 11. Travis Dye is hurt, but Austin Jones is playing magnificent football. You talk about their defense. I thought they would be a liability last week, and they impressed me. They got some talent. They just got to figure it out, and I almost think they have now. So going into a neutral site, not having that environment for Utah, I don't see Utah winning, and I see them maintaining their 4 spot and crushing your Ohio State dreams.
Okay. 3rd, TCU. That move up was
Because Ohio
more,
State.
more, more, more of a there you go up one, you know. They're good, yes, but I have a very strong feeling that if they do play Michigan in a bowl game, they will get embarrassed. I am not sold on TCU. I'm not. One, they are fresh meat in the college football playoffs. So they are good. Yes, they're good. Great team. But they are fresh meat in this playoff. Not Michigan. I think that they should have probably fourth, fifth, probably don't know. But
They're
third
12
is
and 0.
true. But third was just just go up one. So yeah.
You can't have a 12 and 0 team with this level of a schedule that they've played, beating Texas Tech, Texas, K-State, I think, is where they have a very convincing win. You see what the energy that Oklahoma State provided to Texas, and then followed up with a dud against, well, not dud, but a comeback loss against TCU. It's a dud as far as the second half. They scored 40 points, give them that, but they were up almost 20, I believe, and got ran back on an OT. So TCU all year, I mean, let me just go through their scores. 38 points, 59, 42, 55, 38, 43, 38, 41. Texas Tech held them to 34. Texas, at the peak of their season, held them to 17. That's the only one that I see. Then they got 29 against Baylor Bears. And the Iowa State Cyclones are nobody, but they got beat by 62. That, for me, especially with that being their last one, you're talking about an over 40-point average for this team. This is a team that, when you win by almost 50 points, just that's where you belong. And so is it a move up because Ohio State went down? More so because Ohio State was so accredited. It's not that TCU was, a disclaimer, hey, they shouldn't be here. It's that the top three above them were three elite programs with elite track records. They're blue bloods. This is the one that maybe people want to question because they're not that name that you think of when you think of college football. But this season they should be. They've proved it. They've earned it. They are rightfully so at number 3 because you can't put USC above them, especially when you've been disrespecting USC this whole time.
Number 1 and first,
number 2. 2 and 1. Let's talk about them both. Let's talk about them both. Do you think that Michigan should be number 1 now, or do you think it should have maintained Georgia? Because Michigan is now number 2. Georgia maintains number 1. How do you see that?
They should be ranked first. Michigan should be ranked first. When you go into Ohio State, and beat them at their house by 22 points. Georgia has no good win except Tennessee. And Tennessee, they're good, but they didn't prove that much to us. So they should be ranked first and then have Georgia second. So number 1 and number 2, they both speak for themselves.
They do. I do think actually that Georgia should be number 1 and is correctly placed. I do understand that now Michigan beating Ohio State is the biggest win of the year for anybody. It is the biggest opponent to beat, and they got it done. But what stands out to me is that Michigan's out-of-conference schedule, and I promise you this is the reason, is largely unimpressive. They opened their season with absolute milk in Colorado State, under 500. Hawaii is Hawaii. UConn's 500. Maryland's a game over 500. Iowa Hawkeyes are a game over 500. Indiana is under 500. it takes till that point that you get to Penn State, first ranked opponent. You beat them handily. Good for you. Michigan State, terrible situation after the game in the locker room. Happy they got settled outside the field because it really should have been. You beat them handily.
Right.
Rutgers, you beat them. Cornhuskers, you beat them. You really shouldn't have been that close to Illinois. But then you get to the biggest win of the season for anybody. It's someone you beat last year. You whooped them harder this year in Ohio State. But now we're at 2 ranked opponents and 2 in-conference opponents that are that ranked team. Out of conference opponents were absolute duds. And if you put Michigan number 1, you're influencing teams in the future for as long as the current system is structured, which maybe is another year or two. It's going to be changing. The conference, the divisions are dissolving here pretty soon. I'm sad for it because this Ohio State-Michigan game might be the last of its kind where it has so much riding on the line. It's such a big deciding factor. That's it. Nothing else in the Michigan schedule says they should be number 1. And if you make them number 1, you're going to see a lot of Austin Peay versus Alabama type games next year. To put Georgia number 1, it really highlights what I mentioned earlier. Opening against, Bo Nix's first game for Oregon, opening against them and beating them by 46. That is not only a ranked opponent, that's not only a top 15 opponent, that is the biggest out-of-conference win that many teams have had this year, and you wipe the floor with them. Samford is a nobody, but they're 10-1 in their respected areas. 0 versus 33 at the score. Then you wipe the floor with the South Carolina. Came out of nowhere, have rose in the rankings recently, another ranked opponent. So if you look at their first 3 games, they wiped the floor with 2 ranked opponents, 1 out of conference. The out of conference is the biggest one. You beat Auburn, you do what you're supposed to do against Vanderbilt. You do what you're supposed to do against Florida, who's not an untalented team. Then you got a really good ranked opponent in Tennessee. Then you got another ranked opponent that you just still wipe the floor with in Mississippi State. Then, before we get to the end of the season, is Kentucky a ranked opponent? I don't believe so. But they had to make sure because they do have Will Levis. That's where the CFP committee really looking at who you beat personnel-wise, I don't believe so. But that makes 4 to 5 games, depending on who you are. They're absolutely of note. 4 of them are ranked opponents, and 1 is an out-of-conference win. And none of them were ever in question. That is where I say if Georgia wasn't number 1, it makes these out-of-conference wins meaningless. And it makes the domination that they've had in these situations meaningless. They are number 1. They deserve to ride that hot hand. And I can't wait to see USC against them because there's no way they're going to lose to Utah in a neutral site. Utah won because of the environment by 1 point. And Caleb Williams is now playing the best football anybody's playing in college football.
Okay. Last point. The reason why Georgia has blown out everybody is because they ain't played no good team. So until they didn't play nobody, the only team honestly that they played, Tennessee. You got too close to Missouri. How? And then the Oregon game, that don't even count because
I get it, but
just started. So, Georgia's true test, it could be Saturday, don't know. But it won't be until the college playoffs. So, that's why Michigan should be 1 because they still beat every team and beat Ohio State at their house. Plus 22 points.
I find that very interesting. Michigan is, beat Ohio State, but other than that, it was just Penn State. Everything else was below 500 for the most part, and you were very close to an Illinois team. Now you have close to –
was pretty good, though, this year. You can't –
unranked.
Come on.
That's what they're unranked.
Yeah.
They weren't that good.
Yes.
4-loss team, not that good. For me, you stack up the ranked wins. I'm not worried about who you almost lost to. I'm not worried about who you lost to. It's how you lose. And they didn't. So that doesn't matter. Who'd you beat and how'd you beat them? Number 24, Mississippi State. You go up to number 19, South Carolina. Number 16, Oregon. And you rise all the way up to number 7, Tennessee, who at the time was the number 1. At the time, that was the biggest win of the college football season. Now it's still top 3. And if they're 10-point favorites against number 14 LSU, who was just number 5, this is by far the number 1. It's a hands-down situation for me. Michigan earned their number 2 rights. They earned the conversation of being number 1. But when you break it down, the out-of-conference win is where they set themselves apart as far as Georgia. Michigan has no quality out-of-conference wins, and they have 2 good conference wins. When you come to Georgia, they're approaching their 4th quality conference win and have the major out-of-conference win out of anybody on the season. Done deal for me. With that said, hit me with that last slide.
Oh, that's fine. But first, Georgia has no quality wins. But anyway,
it sounds like you saying the Eagles have no good opponents. I'll say okay.
They don't.
Sure. Okay.
They play Titans Sunday. Are we gonna see what happens?
Man, I'm talking about Georgia, but sure.
Man, but guys, we will be back on this Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We will bring you all of the championship Saturday games that are coming up, as well as one of the biggest games in Philly's schedule this season versus the Titans. Guys, we will be back Friday. See you later.
Thank y'all. Let's go.